Welcome back to Chow Time Pods, your host Red. Again, I saw this everywhere, but I didn't see anybody cover it other than Dan, so...
Back, a video went viral on social media of a woman in a public place who willfully and apparently deliberately chose to back herself into a man and then claimed he assaulted her. In case you missed it, let me play it for you, and I want you to watch very carefully because what you're about to see could have ended very differently.
Yeah, I saw this on Instagram. I was scrolling through my Instagram a little bit and I saw this clip and I was very surprised to actually see a clip like this. You're going to see some actual defending going on by other women, which again, I'm quite surprised by, but also women need to hold other women accountable or else you're going to ruin it for other women too.
No,
Everybody called her out on her bullshit.
Now think about what just happened, what you just witnessed. Man is just standing there, not even looking at the woman, and she, of her own accord, steps back into the man, leans into him, in fact, and then she claimed he assaulted her. She didn't say it was accidental. She didn't even take a moment to pause and think what had happened. No, she immediately accused him of sexually assaulting her.
And people always say, why would she lie? Why would people lie? Because they're fucking liars. That's why they lie.
Right there in public. Was it deliberate? Well, I'll let you decide for yourself, but from what I saw,
held to
not out of the question. And here's where it gets interesting. As we saw, she did this in a public place, in front of a huge crowd, in front of cameras. I mean, you would think that would give her some pause before she goes hurling.
But it doesn't. That's the crazy thing, Dan. That's the crazy things, guys. There's cameras everywhere. People are recording, and they still do it. That's how brazen and entitled these women are. They don't think they're going to get in trouble for it. They actually think other women would defend them for doing such horrible behaviors.
An accusation, you would think she might want to take a look around before claiming, after she backed into him no less, that she was sexually assaulted. But no, she believed what most women who make false allegations believe, which is that Me Too and Believe All Women would protect her. That all the other girlies around her would come running to support her, that they would help her to attack the man.
And normally it would be, but I think tides are changing.
Label him a predator and help her to destroy him. And the fact is, that's exactly what usually happens, which is exactly why she felt so safe in making that false allegation in public, in front of a crowd, in front of cameras, no less. Which is why if you actually watch her face afterward, she looks so shocked that it didn't turn out as she expected. Because if you listen to the people around them, especially the other women, they immediately started calling her out. They saw what happened. They knew he didn't assault her. They knew she was lying. Thankfully, there were multiple cameras recording the entire thing, which is why we're able to watch what happened right now. And I want to be sure to give credit to all of those who called her out.
Agreed. I even said it myself, right? Like, I'm surprised that so many women pushed back on it and actually called her out. Shout outs to women for this one. Women as a whole are actually doing a little bit better than they did before. Shout outs to them.
Especially the ladies. And to those who supported the man, not the woman making the false allegation against him. But here's the question I want you to think about. What would have happened if those cameras weren't there? What would have happened if the witnesses weren't there?
Jail.
What happens if this happens somewhere else with nobody around and now it's simply her word against his? Well, suddenly this stops being some ridiculous viral video and starts becoming something that could have potentially destroyed that man's life. I mean, think about the accusation that she made, one that's in fact made by millions of women every single year, just like the one in that video. Not that he yelled at her, not that he was rude, not that he called her a name, even though he didn't do
No, she pushed up on him, rubbed on him, and then accused him of assaulting her. That's ridiculous.
And those things. No, she accused him of assaulting her. And as I said earlier, she did it almost instantaneously without a second's thought.
Seriously. It was just like, whoop, he assaulted me. Crazy.
Without a lick of remorse, without the slightest bit of guilt. And that's the part we men need to pay attention to, because there was no hesitation, no concern whatsoever about what the allegation might do to him. No thought about whether the police might show up and put this guy in handcuffs. She just said it, expecting to win an Academy Award for playing the victim, and in the process, getting tons of attention, validation, and sympathy. It shows how truly cold women can be, how they don't care in the least about what happens to the man they accuse.
It also shows how selfish they are. It's all about me, me, me. Anything I can say to get me ahead in life doesn't matter if it fucks you over.
How they have no problem destroying a man in order to get attention. Now, let's go back and revisit the question of what would have happened if nobody'd been recording. We might be watching an entirely different video. Hell, we almost certainly would be. It would be one of him being arrested. Maybe one of somebody asking why men are so violent. Maybe we'd be reading a headline about yet another man attacking a woman. And almost nobody would know what actually happened. Well, except him. It would be his word against hers, and in an era of believe all women, well, whose word do you think is going to rule? Now, thankfully, that isn't what happened here. The people around him immediately challenged her story. They essentially told her, no, that's not what happened, and you know it. We saw it, and there's video proving it was you who instigated the contact, not him. In other words, the truth is it's she who assaulted him, not he who assaulted her. A point I've yet to see a single person commenting on this video make. Why isn't she being charged for assault or for making that false allegation? Inquiring minds want to know. Which makes this almost...
We all know why. Because she's a woman. Those things don't happen to women.
A perfect example of something I've talked about for years. How false allegations don't have to involve some elaborate conspiracy. They don't have to involve somebody spending 3 weeks concocting their story. Sometimes, in fact, often, it happens in seconds. An argument happens, she gets all emotional and angry, and suddenly the accusation comes flying out. Except accusations like this aren't harmless. They're not just mere words, as so many women say, especially because they're made against a man. Because once somebody says, he assaulted me, everything changes. His life is ruined. Even if later on, as we saw in this case and so many others before it, it's proven beyond any doubt that she was lying. And this brings us to another part of the story that I think deserves far more attention. Because you see, I took the time to see if I could find out if she'd actually been charged in any way. And as far as I'm able to determine, she wasn't charged with making a false allegation, assault, or anything else. And that's important. Because you see, we're constantly told that false allegations are incredibly rare. You've probably heard women throw around numbers like it's only 2%. A claim I've talked about and debunked before. That number gets repeated constantly as though someone descended from on high, carrying it carved into a stone tablet, when in fact, it was actually a made-up number, one presumed not from actual facts but supposition, way back in 1974. To date, there is not a single shred of evidence to support the claim, yet it's treated as gospel. The fact is, there is no magical database containing every false allegation ever made. There couldn't possibly
There's way too many.
Be, though I wish there were. Which brings us to the question, would this incident even be counted? Has it been counted?
Nope.
Does this woman's accusation show up in any statistics?
Nope.
Well, since she apparently wasn't prosecuted for filing a false report, wasn't convicted or even charged of making a false allegation, at least as of the time I'm recording this, the answer is no. Yet, the fact remains the man was falsely accused, and the allegation collapsed almost immediately because witnesses and video contradicted it. But statistically speaking, it's nowhere to be found. And
This is why it's so hard, again, to want to push you guys to have family, to actually go out there, maybe approach some women, you know, go on dates and stuff, because the dangers of this stuff. This is not even him going out with her or anything. This is just normal fucking interactions at a popular store that everybody's lining up at. A normal fucking interaction. Again, you weren't even dating, you weren't even nothing. She bumped you, and now you could have gone to jail. You could have lost your livelihood for what? Because you wanted to go get a nice thing for your wife or your girlfriend or something, or I don't know what they were waiting in line for exactly. But, you know, like you were just in line there too, but now all of a sudden your life is over. That's crazy. Crazy, diabolical shit.
That's exactly why we need to start taking this more seriously. Start holding women who make false allegations accountable. Why they need to face prison time. Serious prison time. Because in the real world, we just watched a woman accuse a man of assaulting her when witnesses around them said it didn't happen. That is a false allegation. We don't need a PhD in statistics to figure that part out. But if nobody ever officially records it as one, it just disappears. It becomes statistically invisible, and thus, there's no accountability. That needs to change, and change immediately. Believe all women is not what should define the process. Presumption of innocence should. And that's the exact problem with these sweeping claims about exactly how uncommon false allegations supposedly are. Because you cannot accurately count something when a significant number of incidents, in fact the overwhelming majority of them, never become part of the data set in the first place. It's why I reject the idea that somebody can simply...
even that China one, right, didn't get recorded as false allegations. It got recorded as something else.
Throw out a tiny percentage and declare the issue settled. Cases can and often are dropped for lack of evidence. Accusations can be disproven without charges ever being brought against the accuser. People can recant. Videos can emerge. Witnesses can contradict a story. Police and DAs can decide there's nothing worth pursuing, or that the public backlash they're sure to get from other women makes it not worth.
It's so crazy that public backlash can change how justice works. That's crazy.
Pursuing. And as a result, none of those situations automatically becomes a proven false report case in some national database. Now, look, that doesn't mean every unproven accusation is false. Obviously it doesn't. It simply means we don't know. And pretending that we don't know somehow means we know it was true is at best intellectually dishonest. And at worst, a deliberate attempt to excuse and, dare I say, encourage this behavior by women. This particular incident gives us something that most cases don't. We can actually see what happened. There are witnesses. There were cameras.
You literally just saw it. She wanted to cut in line. She bumped him, raised her hand immediately, and said she got assaulted.
People standing there saying she is making something up about this man. And yet, again, at least as of the time I'm recording this, apparently there are still no consequences for the woman who made the accusation. And I want you to think about that for a second. This woman willfully and knowingly made a false allegation against a man, yet no one knows who she is. I spent some time searching for this woman's identity. I can't find it anywhere. This video's been seen all over the world, all over the internet. Her face is right there. We watched what happened. We heard the accusation. We hear the witnesses immediately calling her out. Yet, as far as I can determine, she's never even been publicly named. Now, flip that situation around. Imagine there weren't cameras. Imagine there weren't witnesses.
Oh, we'd know his name.
Imagine the police believed her allegation and arrested this man for assaulting a woman in public.
Joe Schmo assaulted women online, in a line. That's what we would see.
How long do you think it would have been before his name became part of the story?
Picture.
Before people searched his social media. Before strangers who knew absolutely nothing about what happened decided he was guilty. And that's the bizarre dichotomy of it all. The accusation can publicly identify and potentially destroy the accused man, while the woman making it remains completely anonymous. Where's the justice in that? The man potentially carries the stigma, the woman just disappears into the crowd. And had that camera not been running, had the witnesses not been there, we might never have known which one was actually telling the truth. Which leads us to another very important point. I want you to think about the incentive structure that this creates. If making a false allegation carries virtually no risk to the woman making it, while the accusation itself can carry enormous consequences for the man being accused,
then it's just pure benefit for women to falsely accuse people. Again, like Dan said, they are almost encouraged to do it because you get no consequences, but the upside of doing it can be very high. It could be revenge, right? You just want to get revenge on this person. That's an upside for you with no downside.
Why would any reasonable person expect the problem to disappear? And I want to make something else very clear here. The issue here isn't just whether she should have been arrested and charged, and yes, she should have been. No, the larger issue is the enormous difference between the potential consequences for these two people. Had police believed her accusation, what's potentially at stake for him? Well, let me tell you. His freedom, his reputation, his job, his relationships, attorney's fees,
his life,
maybe his ability to see his children, depending on his circumstances. Not to mention that with prison justice being what it is, perhaps
right.
even...
I totally forgot about prison justice. Yeah.
The loss of his life. And even if he's eventually cleared, we all know how the internet works. Man arrested for assaulting woman will get the headline. Charges quietly dismissed 6 months later, at best will get paragraph 17 on some website that nobody reads. That's the world men are navigating, and that's why I want every man watching this to learn something from what's happened here. You are carrying a camera with you almost everywhere you go.
Protect yourself.
Use it. I'm not telling you to walk through life terrified of women. I'm not telling you every woman is going to falsely accuse you. That would be...
Once shit goes down and you feel like shit's going to go down, protect yourself and start recording immediately.
Absurd, ridiculous. But I am telling you that you don't know which one might. And unfortunately, you won't find out until you're already standing in the middle of the situation. Which is exactly why you must assume that every woman is a threat. Not because they all are, but because you can never know which ones might be.
Is your freedom and your health and life and happiness more important than, just prejudging people? Hell yeah, it is. Prejudge the shit out of them.
And if an encounter starts getting hostile, don't try to prove how tough you are. Don't get into a screaming contest. Don't start throwing insults. Create distance. Walk away. Stay calm. And when circumstances warrant it and allow it, document what's happening. Because your memory of an event isn't evidence nearly as powerful as video of the event. In the end, this man is living proof of the risk that all men face on a daily basis.
This is why I really wanted to cover this story. Again, I was going through a lot of videos and a lot of people were trying to look for this story, but I only saw Dan cover this story. And I can cover it by myself, but I like the podcastness of being able to talk with Dan and other creators about the topic.
Sure, he didn't wake up that morning and tell himself, hey, it's a good day to have some woman accuse me of something I didn't do.
Perfect day for that.
Yet that's exactly what happened to him. And what happens to millions of other men every single year. Let's face it, he got lucky. Damn lucky. He had witnesses. There were cameras. And the accusation was challenged essentially as soon as it happened. But this isn't the norm. It's the exception. More often than not, there are no witnesses, are no cameras. And when you remove those things from this story and ask what we're left with...
See, this is why people talk shit about China and all this stuff, like the surveillance states. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying there are pluses and minuses to that. And the plus would be full surveillance, right? If women wanted to accuse men of things, there's going to be surveillance of it almost everywhere at all times. So you're kind of protected in that sense. But the other side of it is, yeah, you're being watched 24 damn 7.
Basically, it's a woman saying a man assaulted her and a man saying he didn't. That's it. And we all know who's going to be believed, don't we? The sad truth is, I don't think men fully appreciate how quickly their entire life can change in that situation. We've spent years telling men to understand how vulnerable women can feel around men. We've had campaigns about it, commercials about it, school programs about it, workplace training about it. We've built entire social movements around it. Me Too, anyone? Yet, there's not a single one, not one, telling women to understand how vulnerable men are to women. Maybe it's time we change that. Maybe it's time we acknowledge that men can be vulnerable too.
See, I don't know if it's good to do that in a sense, Dan. I think women are so cynical and selfish that if we told them that, they would wield it in the opposite way. They would be like, oh, I can do these things to you and not face consequences? Then let me have at it. I feel like it's going to go more that way than anything.
Women do indeed make false allegations, and at a lot higher rate than anyone wants to admit. Maybe it's time we actually admit that women are every bit the risk to men that they believe men are to women. No, not necessarily in exactly the same ways, but risk nonetheless. Because an accusation...
I think the risk balances itself out. The amount of risk that men take and the amount of risk that women take because of, men being stronger, but women being like socially more powerful with false accusations and stuff. Pretty even risk overall, I guess.
It can be a weapon, and increasingly, it's being used as one. And when that weapon is pointed at an innocent person, the consequences are devastating. Which is what makes this video so important. Not because this particular accusation succeeded, but because it didn't. It's important because we can see exactly why it failed. See that this case is the exception because there were witnesses, there were cameras, there was evidence. Because without those things, nobody watching this can honestly say they know how this would have ended. So men, learn from this guy's experience. Pay attention to your surroundings and the women around you.
What do we say? Protect yourselves at all times. When anything starts going down, pull that camera out. If you can't hold it to get video footage, at least have it there to have audio footage. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And catch you guys next time.